Hi, this is AstroKrys from CodaQueenAstrology, and today's video is going to be on the Leo full moon, the first full moon of the year. If you like astrology, this is a page for you. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment below. I'll answer any question you have. You can also catch me weekly on my IG. I do IG lives, and you can ask me questions there too. Okay, let's get started. So the Leo full moon is happening on the 28th of January 2021. And this is a very exciting and also a little bit shaky full moon. First, full moons are about being thankful, looking at our harvest, right? What has came to culmination. And the area of life where we have the moon shining bright, we have to first thank that area for whatever gifts or lessons we learned, and also start getting ready to change things and let things go. In general, the full moon is about gratitude. So let's tap into the archetype of the moon in Leo. The moon in Leo, or natives with the moon in Leo, tend to love to connect with others. They love children. They love acting, creativity, expressing themselves in a very dynamic, fiery way. So they have very fiery personalities. You can tell when anyone with Leo placements come into the room, they're just calling attention. And they don't necessarily have to be the best looking people because we come in all shapes, sizes, but there's something about their charisma. That's what it is. Their charisma, their attitude, their demeanor, the confidence that they radiate, they just radiate like the sun. So with the moon in Leo, it's calling upon radiating, shining in this area of life. And we'll get into the 12 signs later and how the moon is going to impact those 12 signs. But in general, when the moon is a full moon, it's in opposition to the sun. So we have this Leo moon opposing the sun in Aquarius. And the sun in Aquarius has a different agenda. When the sun is in the sign of Aquarius, it's all about the people. We're no longer focusing on the individual or the king, right? Like Leo. We're focusing on the people of the kingdom. So the sun has a different perspective and things around the masses, networks, humanitarian causes, the better good for humanity, and technologies around fostering and assisting advancements in humanity. This sign of Aquarius rules the sciences, rules large networks without a center. So they're all interconnected and they all connect and work together. And the sun being here, forming a stellium, because there's a concentrated energy here, a stellium with all these planets, emphasizes the area of Aquarius. And this is where some of the nervousness and unexpected ideas come from, because there's such a huge emphasis in Aquarius. Now, the bonus here is that we do have Saturn, and Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for quite some time. We have Saturn here supporting the sign of Aquarius. Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So that assists the sun as Saturn is helping. But this does bring a level of seriousness, a level of responsibility. The sign of Aquarius is throwing a party with the sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Pallas Athena being there. And Saturn comes and starts monitoring this party. So it does ground things. It focuses on the expansion of Jupiter. So it kind of brings Jupiter down a little. And for the last 2 years, Jupiter has spent a lot of time with Saturn. So Jupiter was in the sign of Capricorn with Saturn last year, and now Jupiter is going to be in the same sign with Saturn this year until Jupiter goes ahead of Saturn. But in Gemini astrology, according to my teacher, this combination is auspicious, and there is reasons. First, it has to do with the demeanor and the temperament of each planet and what they rule. So the individual combination of Saturn with Mercury and Jupiter there can actually give a lot of advancements and payoffs in the areas that they rule in your chart. So everyone's going to have these areas activated for different themes in their life. And those are the areas of life that you're paying mind to, because they're going to be highly emphasized. So in this case, Saturn ruling Capricorn and Aquarius, Jupiter ruling Pisces and Sagittarius, and Mercury ruling Virgo and Gemini, in addition to the other planets and the signs that they're being activated. So we see that they kind of tie in the rest of the chart. Now, stelliums are a little bit heavier to digest because of the reason that they have such a punch of energy. It's like jam-packed energy. There's a lot of activity. And we have to remember that the sun is the brightest in our solar system. So the sun eclipses all the planets. Right now, we have the sun reprogramming all the planets, and it's happening at the same time. Typically, the sun reprograms about 2-3 planets at the same time, but right now it's going to reprogram. So far, it's reprogrammed 3, and then when Venus enters the sign of Aquarius, it will reprogram Venus at the same time. So all the personal and social planets are being reprogrammed, and whenever this happens, it's a new cycle for them. So now they're all going into headquarters. It's like they got an invite to go to headquarters, and the outcast here is Mars. But Mars knows about this party because he is squaring the energy of the sun. So we have Mars at 10 degrees in Taurus squaring the sun. And this is an applying square because the sun is continuing to go forward, and the sun will reach the 10-degree mark of about 2 days after and form this exact square with Mars. But we have here the moon, the sun, and Uranus and Mars forming a T-square. And whenever we have T-squares in natal charts, or even in prediction or forecasting, we have to look at the opposite sign where the apex is pointing. And in this case, it's the sign of Scorpio. Mars happens to rule this sign. That's how we relieve some of the tension. So whatever house you have that rules a Scorpio, specifically around the 11-degree mark, so we want to give it a range about 5 to 15 degrees, then that's the area you want to focus on. If you have planets there, then you're going to tap into the energy of those planets to work with the frustration or tension or load of energy, jolted energy that you're getting. Because Mars and Uranus together are energy. They are rebellious energy and unstoppable as well. And they're squaring the sun and all the other planets in Aquarius. And additionally, it's also squaring the moon. And the sun is representative of our soul, and it also rules our career and other things like that. So we might feel it more physically in the body, but the moon is going to be representing our emotions and our mood. So we're feeling both an over energized body and mind. So Saturn does assist in kind of grounding things, but can bring his pessimistic style. So we might feel during this time that maybe sudden responsibilities are coming about, and we are fearful of the future. We're fearful of new developments. And the reason being is because this chart is full of fixed energy. So we have Taurus, that's fixed earth. And we have Leo, fixed fire, and also Aquarius, fixed air. So we have those elements very strongly emphasized in this chart. And we are lacking water, which is, when a chart lacks water, it makes us a little bit less caring, not connected as much to the emotions and intuition. So we need to tap into that energy of trusting ourselves, believing that we're able to make the correct decision and following our hunches, and also honoring the fact that we might need a break if we're overstimulated, if we have too much energy, if we feel too fired up, we feel restless. Taking the time to take a few breaths, taking the time to ground ourselves, taking the time to meditate or exercise lightly, because we are going to have an overstimulation of energy. And Jupiter is making sure of this. Why? Jupiter necessarily doesn't give a lot of energy in the chart. The thing is that Jupiter expands and exaggerates and overindulges and gives a lot. And Jupiter is conjuncting the Sun. Now, the Sun and Jupiter conjunct is considered a lucky aspect. And this is one of the luckiest days of the year. Now, there is some work to do, so we're going to feel the luck later. We might not feel it, and some people, depending on their chart, they might win the lotto. They might get good news. They might make plans to travel abroad or to move abroad if that's what they're seeking to do. So it all depends on how your natal chart is playing with this horoscope. But we do see Jupiter conjuncting with the Sun here, making a day that is jovial, or expanding on our endeavors, expanding on everything that we do, and continuing to push with positivity. It is in opposition to the moon, so it could also be a day that we might overindulge in food or comfort foods, things like that, because the moon in opposition to Jupiter, people or natives with this combination, they usually enjoy overindulging in all the good and tasty foods that the earth has to offer us. So we just need to be mindful of, not emotionally eating if we don't need to. And if that's the case, if we do require a dose of good food and sweets, and that's what's going to make us feel good, then we can do that too. But with the mindfulness that we need to execute some energy out using Mars. And this is if we use Mars to start something new, to show some initiative, or literally just to work out and get the body and the blood flowing. But you do want to work out enough that you get your blood flowing, because Mars does rule the blood. And this could also help with some of that nervous tension. Now, another powerful combination that we're having here is Pluto conjunct Venus. And they're the same thing, same exact degree, the 25th degree in the sign of Capricorn. Venus in astrology rules love, rules beauty, and rules money. Now, she's the lesser benefic, so she pays less than Jupiter. But if your Venus is well placed in your chart, she continues to pay. Versus Jupiter is very sparingly. You have to have him super strong in your chart so he can pay more often. But when Venus conjuncts the god of the underworld, the god of power, the god of massive wealth, the god of the banking system, because Pluto is large amounts of money, it's loans, it's credit, and insurance policies, and money that they revenue from dividends and interests. So it could also be an indicator that something big is happening on this day that's going to influence the stock markets, because we already have two powerful combinations here. We have Venus in Pluto together, and then we have the Sun and Jupiter together. And the Sun and Jupiter together, I mentioned, it's one of the luckiest aspects to have, natally or in the sky. So this is a day that all the astrologers look forward, because it only happens once a year and it's for a few days. But the day of this full moon happens to also be the day that the Sun conjuncts Jupiter. Now, Venus, on the other hand, conjunct Pluto can also talk about trauma, because Venus, whenever she crosses path with Pluto, she does see the dark side, and some of her feelings start coming out, maybe old traumas or old hurts or things that she needs to purge and take out of the system. And we're starting the year with Venus conjuncting Pluto, but by the end of the year, this aspect repeats again. So this is a good time to journal and see how you're feeling. Maybe whatever comes up, it's because it's Pluto energy, it's not so clear, you don't really see it yet, it's hidden, it's still deep down inside. And a few days after, you start feeling, hey, wow, why am I feeling this way? Or why am I feeling emotional? Or why did this situation happen? Oh, wow, this person just came out of nowhere and triggered this in me, things like that. So you want to journal to see how you're feeling, specifically anywhere between the 27th of January all the way through the end of January, so you can see if there's anything important to pay mind to. But it can easily influence just your finances. So I would also look at your budget and see how it needs to either improve, because that Pluto energy is about improving the processes. Pluto is digging deep and purging things that no longer work for us and just revamping everything to transform. So just remember, like, look at either your budget or start doing some inner child work or some journaling, so you can know exactly what the message that Venus and Pluto are giving to you. But on the other hand, like I mentioned, the Sun and Jupiter conjunct is a lucky aspect, so it's something to look forward to. And here, the only thing that I do see that's giving us a little bit more problems to execute is Mars. Mars himself is a little upset. He is isolated with Uranus, and he is ready to take action on instinct versus thinking things through. So this area of life where we have that Mars, we're going to see a revamp in willpower, in ambition, and execution. And we need to see how that energy is fostering our developments. But all in all, this full moon in Leo is super jam-packed with energy and fire and creative inspiration. It's a beautiful full moon. Okay, so let's get into the forecast for all the 12 zodiac signs. As a reminder, we first look at our ascendant, and then our moon, and then sun. The moon and sun are secondary. The ascendant is our life path. That gives you the layout of the houses and how they're being influenced. But the sun impacts more on a career, outward level, and then the moon is our emotions, so it's going to be more internal. So to get a more comprehensive analysis without getting an actual reading from an astrologer, you want to listen to all three. And if you have a stellium somewhere, you also want to listen to that stellium energy, because sometimes that's stronger than your ascendant, sun, and moon, especially if it rules one of those three. And for those that do not have their natal chart, I have a free birth chart calculator. The description will be below. Check that out, cast your chart, and come join me every single week as I post videos. Bring your natal chart and learn with me. That's how you get to know exactly how the forecasts are impacting your individual chart. You have it, you see your degrees, you see what's going on in the sky, and you learn astrology. You grow more intimate with your chart. Okay, so let's start with either Aries rising, sun, or moon. So for Aries rising, the full moon in Leo is happening in your 5th house. So the area around children, romance, creativity. This is an area where we need to look at and see the rewards that we reaped. What is it that we reaped? Maybe you might feel more love, more happiness, more creative energy. This is a great time to connect with family, to do things with your children. If you don't have children, to do something with the people that you love. If you have a partner, it's also very good to plan creative pursuits. So if you own a business and your business requires that you're creative, not just in an artistic way, but creative in any fashion where you have to think a little bit outside of that box, then this is a great time to start working on that. Set your intentions. Look at what it is that you've accomplished. See what works for you. See what doesn't work for you. And then from there, make that plan. So it's a very good transit. It could also bring attention to relationships, because the 5th house is the house of romance. So matters around relationships could be highlighted. Now there is that tension that I mentioned from Mars, so we might end up arguing or having disagreements, especially in regard to our values, because Taurus is a sign of value. So be mindful of that, but use your focus to continue with creative pursuits, and maybe also do things that you love, such as developing your hobbies. And for Taurus rising, sun, or moon, you're looking at the full moon energy in your 4th house. And this is the house of the home, the inner feelings, the inner child, and the sun is located in your career house, the 10th house. So this is a time that you're going to look at and see and analyze if there's issues around your home and work balance. So maybe things around work, more responsibilities, which is causing a little bit of issues connecting with the home, maybe relaxing at home. And this can actually bring some tension to the body. So you start feeling overwhelmed. You have Mars right there in the 1st house, kind of picking at you, picking at your body and the way that you feel. Now remember, the outlet here is the 7th house, because that is your Scorpio house. So focus on maybe being more romantic with your partners, or socializing more with friends, family, especially best friends, or collaborating if you have a business, because you do have a lot of energy in the 10th house. So you have Jupiter and Sun there. Something lucky is happening. So good transit for you, Taurus. Continue to develop your career and set forth intentions around the home and career balance. Now for Gemini rising, sun, or moon, the full moon is happening in your 3rd house of communication, and the sun is in your 9th house of wisdom and higher knowledge. So maybe travel is on your mind, talking, collaborating, socializing, taking a short trip. Those are all great things that you can do. And the house where the full moon is shining bright, that's the house where you're going to be thankful. So it's a good time to connect with your siblings, maybe even think of taking up a new skill or licensure. And it is a good time to develop your skills on a higher level. So if you've been thinking about going back to school or completing your education, then this is a great time. You have a lot of activation in the 9th house. So if you've had training on your mind, this is a great transit for you. You're going to have a lot of activation in the 9th house, which is stimulating your higher knowledge, your education, even finding a teacher or a guru or a professor that's going to help you in learning a new skill or learning a trade, or enrolling in a collegiate institution to attain a higher degree. Now, it is a great transit to plan a staycation, maybe go see siblings that you haven't seen for a while, or connect with them over the phone, be more active on social media, connect with friends, on social media. So very good transit for you, Gemini. Just make sure that you are communicating and expressing yourself and not leaving things unexpressed. You do want to get them out. You want to express your feelings, express your emotions, and you'll see that you'll get a good response from the other party, especially because that Jupiter and Sun conjunction is being very supportive. So people might be opened to resolve issues. But if that's not the case, if you get along very well, you have no issues to resolve, plan a trip with your siblings, plan a trip with your family, explore, take a little staycation. And now for Cancer ascendant, Sun or Moon, the Leo full moon is highlighting your second house of self-esteem, self-worth, resources. So this is a good time to continue to look at, hey, I love myself. Look at how much I've accomplished. Look at all the things that I worked on myself, maybe even budgeting or looking at how you're spending and valuing your money. On the other end, we have this stellium energy in your 8th house. So we have Aquarius energy in your 8th house, impacting your partner's resources. Maybe also the money that you're revenuing from work or matters around work money. So that house is also a house that can reveal some hidden feelings or traumas or insecurities. So make sure that you're being mindful of that and addressing them as they come. However, Jupiter transiting your 8th house, this can make you very curious and learning more of the occult, learning more things around secrets and taboo, and maybe taking up a Reiki course or astrology course. So for Cancer, this is a good time to continue to develop the self, to continue to show the self-love, and of course, you're ruled by the moon. We have the moon in the sign of Leo. When the moon is in the sign of Leo, it feels a little bit more animated and expressive. So continue to express yourself, how you love, what you love, and just have a great time with it. And for Leo ascendant, Sun or Moon, this full moon is happening in your relationship axis. So we have the full moon in your 1st house. So the moon is highlighting your emotions right now, your mood, your feelings, your mind. And then we have this stellium energy in the 7th house of your partner, your partnerships, or what you seek in others. So there's a lot of revamping in that area of life for you. In the 7th house of Aquarius, we have that Jupiter and Leo energy. Now, when Jupiter crosses the descendant, it can also bring love or more love opportunities. In a woman's chart, Jupiter can be the representative of a husband or a spouse. And having Jupiter in your 7th house, you might feel that you are luckier in that arena. So this is a good time to be paying attention on how you feel, how your mood is, and if that is directly correlated with your 7th house. We can't forget that Saturn is transiting your 7th house, which actually can test your relationships a little, but it could also bring serious relationships. So this combination of having Jupiter and Saturn in the 7th house can bring a partner that's more long-term because that's Saturn energy. In relationship astrology, we do have to have a very strong placed Saturn communicating with our partners, Saturn and other planets. So like that, the relationship shows more promise of everlasting. And having Saturn there in your 7th house, that's one of the indicators that if you do meet someone now, it could be someone that is there for the long haul. Additionally, this is also good for collaboration with others. If you run a business or you are constantly communicating with others as a job function, you might feel more responsibility. However, Saturn helps us focus on narrowing down what it is we're taking, how we are closing or negotiating deals, and signing contracts. So you might see a little bit more demand from this serious Saturn energy there in the 7th house if it's not playing out in relationships. And you have Mars transiting your 10th house of career, who is squaring Saturn. So some demands in regard to people in authority, your bosses, the CEO of the company, maybe changes perspective or directives, or there can be some tension around if the company is closing and you might be losing your job. So the focus here is to utilize your 4th house. That's where Scorpio is located. The sign of Scorpio should either be on the cusp or inside of that house somewhere. So connect more in the home, maybe relax in the home. I would do some remodeling or moving furniture around or cleaning or getting rid of old things, because you want to move the energy, you want to purge, and that is the outlet for this T-square tension that we're feeling between Mars, Uranus, Moon in Leo, and the stellium in Aquarius. So for Virgo, ascendant, sun or moon, the full moon is happening in your 12th house. Now, when you have a full moon in the 12th house, it just refocuses on you resting the body. The 12th house is the house of bliss, of disconnecting, of the unconscious, of hidden things, of things that are not so clear. And it's also the house of spirituality and faraway places. So it's a good time to either start daydreaming of going somewhere or setting plans, but not really necessarily booking those plans, but just kind of organizing them in your thoughts and visualizing where you're going, what you're doing, but most importantly, resting. Now, you do have the stellium energy in the 6th house, so that's why you're going to require some rest. You have the Sun and Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury all in your 6th house of routines, work, responsibilities. So that's going to be highlighted for a few months for you, where you're working on your habits and your daily routines. So do take advantage of this Leo full moon in your 12th house. You need a rest. I would recommend doing some type of EFT tapping or meridian work to move the body and also release some stress from the body. Now we see that Mars in your chart is actually in the 9th house. And this can bring a clash of beliefs or belief systems. Maybe you're getting information that's a little bit shocking to you and it's shaking up your beliefs, but not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to make you more curious in regard to attaining more knowledge and more wisdom. So take advantage of that. See if there's anything you want to expand your mind or your horizons to, and continue to learn in this area. And for Libra rising, sun or moon, the full moon is happening in your 11th house of networks, of hopes, dreams, aspirations. And you have that big stellium in your 5th house of entrepreneurship, your 5th house of children, romance. So there's going to be a lot of developments around the 5th house, but right now the focus is on your 11th house of networks, your hopes, your dreams. It's a house after retirement, so your gains. Very good transit to connect with people that you hold dear to your heart, like friendships, or to socialize more, to create more friendships and network, and maybe join a charity or do things that you love in regard to humanitarian work. It's a very good transit for that. Now Mars is in your 8th house in the sign of Taurus along with Uranus, and this is going to impact your partner's money, taxes, insurances, but it also impacts your physical self, your feelings, your inner fears. When we have Mars transiting the 8th house, you typically have a very active dream life. So journal, write things down that you feel that are important. Sometimes they're hidden messages, so work through things like that. You've been activated with Uranus transiting your 8th house for quite some time, so a lot of curiosity around paranormal, the taboo, the occult has been dominating your life in the way that you feel, and Mars there just kind of energizes that. So take advantage of this transit and continue to connect with others, and maybe find a group where you're able to connect with like-minded people and indulge on all these cool taboo topics that you are so interested in. And for Scorpio ascendant, sun or moon, this full moon is happening in your 10th house of career. Now you're going to have a lot of activation in the 4th house, in the Aquarius house. So this is also a pull from career to home. So it's energy where it's pulling you more to focus on home responsibilities, and also honor the developments around career. So maybe this is a good time for you to set intentions on either changing jobs or promoting within the job or taking up more responsibilities. You do have the moon there kind of highlighting how you are feeling at work and your work environments, and with this authority or this extra responsibility that you're either seeking or you're attaining. Now the challenge is coming from your 7th house of partnerships, marriage partnerships. Maybe the work home life balance is not so supportive. There's things that needs to change or be revamped, and it's causing a little bit of disagreements or not seeing eye to eye with your significant other in regard to the home and career responsibilities. On a different level, this could also manifest in regard to personal endeavors and the amount of responsibility that you're putting on yourself. So just remember to continue to communicate and collaborate. Now, the house that is the relief for you in regard to this T square is Scorpio. This is you. This is the body. So do what you love. Do things for you. Work on your body. Maybe set a new routine. That's the outlet to balance the partner, to balance the home life, and to balance the work life. Enjoy. And for Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, this energy of the full moon in Leo is activating your 9th house of beliefs, of higher education, of gurus, of travel, of learning, of expanding knowledge, and also the legal system. And your 3rd house is being activated by the stellium in Aquarius, making you more interested in learning quick skills or communicating your needs more, networking, or talking with siblings and neighbors, and maybe even planning a trip. Now, the moon in Leo is asking to look at what you would like to achieve. The 9th house is a fun house. It's one of the lucky houses. So look at what it is that you want to do. Do you want to travel? Do you want to learn more things? Because whatever experiences you fill yourself with, you're taking them and you then excrete this new skill or these new ways of communicating through your 10th house of status and career. So whatever you're doing now is going to help you elevate your career and get more advancements within your company, or even get a new job or promotion. So this is a great time to think about advancing your skills, getting more knowledge, or even just traveling to refuel the body and refuel the mind. Now, the tension for you is coming from the 6th house. So you do have a Taurus in energy with Mars. So be mindful of your daily routines and also your health. If you haven't had a health checkup, and make sure you're doing those health routines, get your blood work done. Mars rules the blood, so you want to make sure that you are checking your blood, that everything's balanced, because there is some tension. So there might be some tension around work responsibilities. Maybe you're not feeling like you have your responsibilities in order. So it's a good time to look at that, revamp it, or even start a nice routine around getting exercise in, eating the right type of food, and also expanding your mind and your horizons. Enjoy this transit. And for Capricorn, ascendant, sun, or moon, the full moon in Leo is happening in your 8th house. So you're feeling the energy from the 8th, and that is how you feel, your mutual resources, and also your inner feelings, maybe something highlighted in regard to deep feelings or something you need to work through in regard to fear. When the moon transits the 8th house, it's a little bit more emotional because it is a house of inner depth, feelings, and traumas and transformation. So this is a good time to do a meditation in regard to releasing, maybe a cutting cord meditation or inner child work. But on the positive note, you have the Aquarius Stellium in your 2nd house of resources and self-esteem. So you're going to see some growth in regard to your values, the food that you eat, the money that you're attracting, etc., and how you're valuing money. Now, you are feeling tension from Mars, and that's actually in your 5th house of romance and children, and you've been having the energy of Aquarius there for quite some time. So working on the things that you love, maybe you feel a little bit more energized to be active and doing things with your loved ones, or executing a hobby, or even starting a business. So this looks like money, money, money for you. So keep up with that hard work. And for Aquarius rising sun or moon, the Leo full moon is in your 7th house, bringing to attention the relationships you have, the partnerships you have, your intimate relationships. If you're not in a partnership or you're not married, maybe that's on your mind right now, but the focus is the Aquarius house. Now you're having a revamp in the self, a revamp in all your houses, because from the 1st house it squares the 4th, it squares the 10th, and it aspects the 7th as an opposition. So whenever we have major planets doing lots of activation in the 4th house, it's a new cycle of growth for us. But you do have the moon in the 7th house of partnerships, maybe working on changing how you respond to partnerships, or doing other things such as developing or fostering new ways of being a partner. There's patterns that we grow up with, or things that we see when we're younger that are not as useful for us. But then there's also good behavior and supportive behavior that we did see from supportive parents. So analyze how you collaborate, how you speak to others, how you respond to others, and see if there's anything you need to work on, anything that you need to change, so maybe you can foster these relationships on a better and deeper level for yourself. Now, Mars is in your 4th house of the home, the inner feelings. So it's a good time to change things around the home, revamp the home, change the home, how it looks, because Mars there is going to get a little bit impulsive and antsy, and maybe you're not even spending that much time there because you're being forced to do other things. And Mars is going to require that you work out and you execute some of that extra energy that you have around the home. Now, it's a good time to work on inner child work, because this is the 4th house of inner child, especially if some trauma or some feelings of uncomfort are coming up. Then it's a good time to do some journaling, shadow work, inner child work, maybe EFT tapping, anything in regard to moving those feelings around and purging them out. You can even do a letting go ceremony where you write down all your feelings, and then after that you embrace whatever you feel, you forgive the people involved, you forgive yourself, and you let it go. And you could either burn it or tear it into little pieces, bury it on the earth, whatever it is, whatever you feel like doing, so you can let these feelings go and move this energy that no longer serves you. So all in all, this is a good transit for you to continue to develop the self and continue to develop the relationship that you foster with other people. And lastly, Pisces ascendant, sun or moon. The full moon is happening in your 6th house of daily routines, activity, health, responsibilities, habits. Now, you do have a lot of activation in the 12th house. Your Aquarius house has all these planets transiting, and they're going to continue to revamp you and reprogram you. During this period, Pisces, you are being asked to work on releasing and relaxing and connecting with the spirit. The 12th house is a very spiritual house. The 12th house is a going in-depth house. So you need to go deep into your feelings and release this energy. Now, you can still create, you can still work, but throughout this transit, you're going to require a lot of breaks in between, a lot of time for the self, so you can retreat, relax. So make sure you're getting those appointments in, or you're scheduling this into your busy schedule, so you can revamp your system, because you are being rewired in regard to your subconscious from the 12th house, which can overwhelm the conscious level, the everyday responsibilities. Now, you are feeling some tension in regard to the way that you communicate with others, because we do see Mars in the 3rd house. So you might not feel as sensitive and compassionate when you respond, especially to people that are irritating you and upsetting you. And remember, we need to tap into the Scorpio house, and that's going to be the 9th house for you. So developing your wisdom and higher beliefs is going to keep you a little bit more grounded. And also speaking your truth, because the 9th house is about speaking your truth. The 3rd house is about communicating. So you're not just going to communicate, you're going to speak your truth. You're going to walk your truth. And just be mindful that you do it in a way that you're not causing a lot of ripples or disrespecting people, because you are a little frustrated with that Mars energy in the 3rd house. But this can actually assist you in organizing your daily routines, because this is another house that deals with daily routines. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate giving you guys all this information and this forecast. And if you feel like this resonated with you and you would like to buy me a coffee, there's a description below for that. No pressure. I will see you back here next week for another video in regard to the cosmic energy, astrology, and spiritual development. And you might want to check these 2 videos out that I think you'll find interesting. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much and take care. Bye.